You write about religion, but you also write about politics.
Often the same thing.
And exactly, they go hand in hand, especially in the Middle East. You know, we open with the revolutions there, political Islam. I want to ask you about this because we see eye to eye on some of this stuff, which is not always the most popular position in terms of what's happening in Egypt in particular. You wrote this recently, July 2nd, Egypt, the devastating consequences of the anti-Morsi revolution. Some would argue we're already seeing them. What
we're absolutely already seeing them. I mean, I wrote this on the eve of the coup, and
we're not calling a coup.
Yeah, the coup that is not a coup. I just want to say one thing about this argument, okay? And again, whatever you feel about the military, whatever you feel about Morsi, that's fine. But get yourself a dictionary, because the definition of a coup is a military that removes a civilian government from power. And people say, yeah, but there were 14 million people on the streets.
Why do they have to be mutually exclusive? It could be a revolution that led to a coup.
It could be, right? Exactly. The point is that if 80 million people, were on the street, it's still a coup. I mean, it doesn't matter how many people support it; it's still a coup. So just go ahead and say, "I support the coup." You're fine. Go ahead and say that. That's fine. My argument is that what we're seeing now is, as someone famously put it, Mubarakism without Mubarak. I mean, the suppression of the Muslim Brotherhood, the arrests, the killings on the streets, and now, of course, it's just back and forth. I mean, pox on both their houses, as far as I'm concerned.
For decades, this has been happening in Egypt.
And it has led precisely to the destabilization of the region. I mean, where do you think Al-Qaeda came from? Al-Qaeda wasn't a bunch of Saudis. Al-Qaeda was a bunch of Egyptians that then came together with some Saudi money. These were all former Muslim Brotherhood members who were tortured into this kind of radicalism. And we have been saying for decades now that if you give these guys an opportunity, one of two things is going to happen. If you give Islamists in the region an opportunity.
The Brotherhood specifically.
The Brotherhood specifically. One of two things is going to happen. Either they will moderate their ideology and be wildly successful, like, for instance, the AK Party in Turkey, or they won't moderate their ideology and they will fail miserably, and both of those are good things. It's true that the Muslim Brotherhood failed miserably. They were incompetent and corrupt and, frankly, just moronic in the way that they dealt with, the little bit of power that they were given.
The economy, politics, marginalizing.
And they had, they should not have been in power. But there is a means to deal with that in a democratic transition. And my worry is that those people who think that after 50 years of being in sole power over Egypt, and then 1 year of not being in sole power, that the military is simply just going to walk away from this. As I like to say, I have a pyramid I want to sell you.
No, of course. And the military, of course, owns maybe 40, 50% of the economy. They kind of have been running things for decades. And I think what's really troubling is people seem to forget how the military governed in the 15 months after Mubarak. 12,000 military trials. I mean, a complete brutal dictatorship.
The massacre of Coptic Christians, the virginity test. What's truly bothersome to me, because I'm a liberal, I'm a secularist, I'm a progressive, what is just so disconcerting to me is the way in which the progressive liberals and secularists in Egypt, the same people who bear the bullet wounds from throwing the military out, have absolutely embraced them in the most, I think, appalling way, have completely forgiven everything that happened
I think forgotten.
A year ago.
I don't think they've forgiven. For some reason, I think there's this weird amnesia, so to speak, this amnesia about the military, and obviously we're not going to solve it here, but it's encouraging that there are voices who are drawing attention to that, because obviously it's a conundrum for the U.S. military.
It is,
They can't continue to send the aid if it is a coup, as you know.
I hope nothing but the best for Egypt. I want this transition to succeed. I have no love for the Muslim Brotherhood or for Morsi, but I do not trust this military, and I'm baffled at people who do.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. Before I let you go, I have to ask you about this. June 12th, the busy guy, you wrote this, Missing Mahmoud. Don't snicker, once President Ahmadinejad is gone, there'll be no one left to stand up to Iran's mullahs. Not even the reformist Rouhani that everyone is hailing and celebrating?
Rouhani is a mullah.
Right.
Let's not forget that. I mean,
Ahmadinejad
was the first president since the first president of Iran, who lasted about a year in power, who was not a mullah. He spent his 8 years doing a lot of stupid things, all right? Destroying the economy. Yeah, no question about it. But no person, no reformist, the most leftist, secularist reformist in Iran, no one like that had ever challenged the Ayatollahs the way that Ahmadinejad did. Love him or hate him, he has transformed Iran in unimaginable ways, and he has brought a sense of power to the office of president that had never existed before him. He's left that office in a much more powerful place. The hope now is that somebody competent will take over that position and use that power for good.
Is Rouhani that guy?
Maybe. Here's the thing about Rouhani is that he managed to win this overwhelming election despite the odds because he appeals to everyone. He appeals to the religious people because he's a cleric. He appeals to the reformists because he talks about social freedoms. He appeals to the pragmatists because he talks about economic liberalization. That's both good and bad because that's a lot of people to disappoint. So if he can figure out a way to actually make good on these promises, then I think it's going to be wonderful. But what he really needs is some help from Obama. What he really needs is a gesture of goodwill from the Obama administration to say at the very least that we're willing to sort of start anew. But I think, there
have been calls for direct negotiations. I mean, do you see the Obama administration, specifically Obama, kind of going out on a limb and trying to kind of reapproach Iran through Rouhani?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I mean, here's the thing. President Obama, in 2007, before he became President Obama, did this incredible interview with the New York Times in which he said that one of the first things he's going to do as president is he's going to reach out to Iran, negotiate without preconditions. He's never done that.
Of course.
That he's going to reiterate its right to enrich uranium under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which is a demand that Iran has made of the United States. He's never done that. In fact, the truth of the matter is that certainly in these latest rounds of nuclear negotiations, the United States has never really offered anything of substance to Iran. Hopefully now, with a new administration in Iran, that will change.
Well, I can only hope so, and I do want to draw your attention. Oh, I lost the tweet. EFF, you were shouting out EFF, the Electronic Frontier Foundation. I had to do it.
Jillian.
Because we're both fans, Jillian. As you know, Jillian works there. Anyway, I'm so thrilled to have you here. This was fun.
Thank you.
I feel smarter.
It was really fun.